feel more normal, doesn't it?
So namaste. I was just having an open discussion with everyone here before I started the recording about attachments, because our third Klesha, which is the mental afflictions that can create suffering, is based on Raaga, which means attachments. So those attachments towards people, whether it's our partner, right? We can develop codependency there. Whether it's our children, and it's all for good, right? It's all for love, but it could also be possessions. It could be our jobs. It could be location. We just had someone in the last class who had just uprooted everything she was familiar with, everything she's ever known in California, to relocate here. And I happened to ask her about how the move has been and as she's acclimating here. And she said, this actually feels like home. And I already love it here way more than I did there, even though I left everything behind. But not everybody has that experience. Some people will have to move from one location to another, and it's hard to let everything familiar go and to uproot and to start all over again. There could be suffering tied into that, just trying to make ends meet, trying to make new friendships, right? But there's so many different things that we can develop an attachment to, even expectations. And so what I love about the Yoga Sutras is it says life is suffering, but suffering can be avoided. Let's first discuss what are the root causes of our suffering. And then they list the 5 categories. And then they'll start to give you tools and techniques to use in order to purify your mind and body, to break us free from those ties that bind us or choke the life out of us. That's going to come up a little bit later. So in the previous class, they gave great wide range of examples that I won't share with you. But one even concerned the ego, which we talked about last week. That was part of their attachment. It's what they were able to accomplish. So be mindful that there is another piece of yogic philosophy that ties in with this, even though it's in a different section. And it's the 8-1 path of yoga. If you look up the 8-1 path of yoga and all these different principles that are the moral ethical code to make life happier and healthier, one of those is aparigraha. And aparigraha is non-attachment. How can we break free from the things we attach to? Because the true goal of yoga is to free ourselves. It's to be liberated from those things. So just bringing up my child, I'm slowly trying to give him more and more freedom. And even though, COVID is happening, he's going to this new high school and he's met these new kids who he's never been able to play in a band with. He's played in the school band, but I mean, creating his own band, right? And now there's like 2 different groups of kids that found out about this new drummer named Gabriel, who's a freshman, and he's getting these phone calls. He's like, Mom, can I go practice? Can I go do this? And I'm saying yes, because this boy needs to have some social life. But it's also hard for me because I've kind of had him pulled up for a while. And we created this really great bond, but I can also see at his age that it's important for him to create this rapport with peers, and he needs to use his talents and he needs to spread his wings, and I'm letting him do that. And so anyway, that's what we're going to be focused on today. We are going to be doing some yin type poses today, because I feel like yin yoga is the perfect kind of recipe of regarding letting go and being able to really steep and be contemplative while you're holding a pose a little bit longer. So we're going to get right into a pose. What I would suggest is you thinking about your own personal body and what's happening with you today. So for instance, if I don't know if this even works for you, instead of bringing the hip this way, if the knee would work in front. If not, we're going to try to do something different. So some of you could be in deer pose, which looks kind of like this. Some of you may prefer half pigeon, which looks like this, a little bit different than deer. And some of you may prefer being in swan or pigeon, with the left knee angled to the side and your right leg extended behind your back. So I'm gonna let you choose what is more appropriate for your body. And you're going to fold or at least hinge from your hips. It doesn't mean you have to drop all the way to the floor. But you're gonna close your eyes. And you're gonna start to begin your mindful breath work. Breathing in, breathing out through the nose. So try to breathe in a diaphragmatic way. And since we're starting our breath work in an actual asana, and the hips and the hamstrings tend to be the tighter areas of the body earlier in the day, be patient as you watch and as the tension begins to unravel, as the hip begins to unfold. Remembering that this second chakra that concerns the hips, one of the spiritual life lessons is learning how to surrender and learning how to let go. So each time you breathe in, feel your lungs inflate. Every time you exhale, notice them deflate. As you're continuing your breath work, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye the beautiful fall foliage that we typically see this time of year. So I was able to escape to Colorado over the weekend, and we went on this trail, and it was so beautiful. All the trees were golden. Even the trees are showing and demonstrating the importance of embracing change and letting go. As the leaves turn and fall. Now, since this isn't a true yin class, I don't want to keep you in these poses terribly long, but let's take a cleansing breath since we're face down. Inhale through the nose. Exhale audibly through the mouth. If you want to go ahead and draw yourself up, just stack onto your hands, walk yourself back in. And then you're going to turn your body so that you're in half Konasana or half dragonfly. It has different names. And as you inhale, lift up energetically through your heart center, through the crown of your head. And then if you have a history of herniated disc, you're going to want to flex the foot, contract your quad, and maintain a straight back. But if you want to be yin-like, you can just let the leg go. It doesn't have to be as structured, and you can fold or I'll just do it, hinge from your hips. Yeah. Notice this pose gets a little bit more into the first chakra. What can tie us to our past? I think we all know someone who tends to stay living in the past, always bringing up the past, always thinking the past was better, always talking about their successes in the past. But we also have other things that stem from our past, such as trauma. And we can actually become attached to the trauma. We can get attached to playing a victim based on our trauma. So this also applies to that. Can we lessen the attachment? Because that's already happened, it's come and gone. Can we overcome that challenge or overcome the suffering that it created? By using these tools and techniques to purify ourselves from the inside out, to free ourselves up from that mental bondage. Consider that with this affirmation that you plug into your mind. I choose to accept everything that comes my way as an opportunity for further growth. Inhale it slowly back up. Bring that right leg out in front. Shavasana. The left foot will connect to the inner thigh, and you can straighten the flex if you want. We're going to flex the foot and be more active on this stretch, so let your arms lift you up, creating space in between each vertebra, and just hold yourself here a minute. I mean, even this requires some work. The muscles have to maintain their strength to provide this posture. Good. On your exhalation, hinge forward. Let your hands come down, and they can rest anywhere beside the leg. And then, of course, if you can find the foot, you're welcome to hold it. Slightly turn your navel towards the straight leg. Lengthen the sternum out towards your foot. Drop down heavily to the back of your thigh bone. And most importantly, breathe. Rob and I were walking last night in the neighborhood, and I love it when he gets philosophical without my prompting him. And we were walking, and he said, "Hey, I've got a question for you." He said, "Is there anything in your past that you could, if you could go back to, that you would change your decision, that would change the course of your life?" And I said, "Oh, I've thought about this a lot before, but I haven't thought about it recently." And so we started talking about it, and I said, "There's nothing I would change, because everything that's happened shaped me into the person I am today, and it's brought me to the place where I am today. So no, even the things that caused me great suffering, I can look back to, and it helped direct me into a different avenue of my life, somehow, some way." And so think about how this affirmation could pertain to that attitude. Left and right and all around, life's harmonies are mine. Left and right and all around, life's harmonies are mine. And on your next inhalation, come up enough so that you're still leaning forward, But you're going to take your left hand either to your shin or the top of the toes. Either way, doesn't matter which. But we're going to elevate the crown of the head, and then we're slowly going to fan the right arm out and back behind us to get a spinal twist. Exhale, unwind from that rotation, and then take an open twist to the left. Perhaps turning your head, gazing behind you if that's okay for the neck. Left and right and all around life's harmony, karma. Exhale, unwind. Good, once you unwind it, you're going to slide the soles of the feet together. All right, you can go down to your mat and do this instead if you want. So you can be active if you have a history of herniated disc, which would be the Baddha Konasana. And if you want to be yin, you can do butterfly with the feet farther away. So I'll let you choose. Lift up energetically through the crown of your head, and as you exhale, fold. If you're doing butterfly, it's okay to round down. Soften your jaw. Relax the sensory organs. Maybe having a longer, slower out breath. And affirming here, secure in myself. I accept whatever is. So I was listening to this podcast on the way here this morning, and it was talking about something very similar to what we're discussing today. And she was talking to empaths, and she said, for all the empaths out there, you know, it's okay to want to help other people, especially when you see them hurting or in pain or suffering somehow. But we also have to remember the law of karma. And everyone has to live and go through their own karma in order for their own transformational growth, in order for them to truly learn the life lesson. She was saying it doesn't mean we can't help people. It doesn't mean we can't be an earth angel for someone. But we can't completely rescue anyone. And that's non-attachment. To be aware of that. Secure in myself, I accept whatever. On your next inhalation, let's go ahead and begin to release out of that position. And we're going to move that sequence to the other side. So in this case, consider on this side of your body, do you want to do the half pigeon that looks like this? Would you rather do deer pose that is similar to half pigeon? Or do you want to actually go towards pigeon or swan? Nestle in. Watch the sensation. Listen to your body. Since the hips are not just about relationships and that life lesson of learning how to let go, it's also about career and money. I was watching something with Raaga last night. It was Bill Maher. And he was interviewing someone who had written a book. And she was saying that a lot of the people who have left the workforce since the pandemic, the majority of the workers are the ones that had very low wages. And she was spouting off these statistics, like a lot of people in the restaurant industries, that only get like $2.13 per hour, and then they have to rely on tips. And she was saying that a lot of the people in that workforce were leaving because first, low wages, and they weren't getting tipped well or getting enough business during the pandemic to survive. And a lot of the waitresses, specifically women, were being abused verbally. A lot of them were saying that lots of times people would say, well, we want to see your face to know how much we're going to tip you. And she said, the reason why all those people are exiting is because they're tired of being a slave to the grind. And so this should be an awakening to our society to create changes so that people aren't working that hard for such low wages, because it's creating suffering. What are our own personal relationships and attachments to money and to work? What are we willing to do? And what do we need to let go of? Let's finish this side with a cleansing breath. Deep breath in through the nose. Deep sigh out through the mouth. When you're ready, let's slowly lift out of that position. And then we'll turn the body, coming onto our seat so that we're in the half dragonfly or half konasana. When you're ready, lifting up energetically, exhale, walking the hands out in front of you. Taking your time, finding your own personal edge of flexibility. When we talk about a parigraha, sometimes we mention even letting go of expectations. My body's been changing, my joints have been changing, and I've had to let go a couple poses that I used to love to practice. It hurts my body. So now I avoid them. The first stage of working with these kleshas is to simply first be aware of the categories and what they mean. The second stage is to reflect on that. That self-study, the self-reflection is a part of the yoga process. And the third phase is bringing in the techniques, the tools, the meditations in order to not only upgrade and enhance our self-awareness, but to purify the mind and body. So that we can embrace the attitude that this affirmation extends out for all of us. I choose to accept everything that comes my way as an opportunity for further growth. Inhale, let's slowly back away. Stretch, and we're going to bring the left leg out in front for Shavasana. Flex the foot, contract the quads, lift the arms, and hold here. And notice the effort involved to keep ourselves in this position. We don't want to tax the muscle, so if you need to go ahead and fold, do so. We're trying to hold it a couple more breaths. Now exhale, let's descend. Slightly turning that belly button over towards the straight leg. Deep belly breaths. Just kind of halfway up. All right, we'll take the right hand to the shin or top of the foot, and the left arm's going to circle right behind us. Good, from that twist, exhale, bring that hand around, and then we'll open up to the twist to the other side. Affirming left and right and all around. Life's harmonies are truly mine. Exhale, release. Go ahead and come back up. This is where we went into butterfly before, but we're not going to do that yet. We're going to slide the feet back and hug the knees into the belly and chest. Apanasana. Now, I want you to explore your hips here. I want you to consider what's happening in your low back. I want you to consider what's happening with the thighs coming in to pressurize the belly. This may be perfect for you today. But I also want you to just experiment with me a moment. Keep your hands on top of the knees, but just let the legs flop open into tree frog or stirrup pose. This may be ideal for you. Third option, lift the feet skyward, take a hold of the feet, pull them downward. Again, pay attention to what this is doing for your hips and low back. Happy baby pose. And then release the feet to the floor, bring the feet together to a reclined variation of butterfly. And then now that you've checked in with all those different options, pick one that maybe felt the best or the most needed. And you're going to be here now. Consider how yoga teaches us to break up our thought patterns. Since our thought patterns can take us on that negative trip in our mind. It can take us down the rabbit hole at times. And so that's something we didn't discuss with non-attachment earlier. I had a thought last week when I was on Instagram, seeing this, a person online who was just gorgeous, right? And being all sexy in the way she was, exhibiting herself, and it made me turn against myself just from the way I thought about my body or my face or my coloring. And I just started going with those thoughts. And once I realized it, I was like, stop it, right? Not attachment. And now we're discovering that a lot of the social media platforms are designed specifically to do that, to get us into a lower vibration. So consider moments or times where your mind turns against you just because you saw something. Can you break up those thoughts to set yourself free? To reduce unnecessary suffering. Let's go ahead and slowly draw the knees together if you're in butterfly. If you were in the happy baby or tree frog, we're all going to hug the knees back in. Because now we're going to roll to one side of the body. And we're going to come up to final stand. So once you come up to stand, you can come to the top portion of your mat. And ground your feet, bring your hands to prayer position at your heart, and lift the arms up overhead. Come to upward worship. On your exhalation, bring your hands down to your heart. Soften your knees. Bring the hands like you're about to karate chop the area right at your upper thighs and hinge from that place. And then once you know, yes, I'm properly hinging from that place, you can release the hands down so that you're in dangling pose. Head falls heavy. Lift the hands actually touch the floor. I suggest flipping them upside down and letting your arms bend. Sometimes that energy erupting can make the legs quiver a little bit, or you may feel vibration that rocks or sways the body. If you need blocks to assist you with this next transition, feel free to use them for balance and stability. We're going to slide the hands forward in front of the toes. We're going to elevate the heels and start to drop the seat towards the floor. Okay, hopefully your knees can handle this. All right, if you can, bring your hands to the knees or thighs and slowly start to straighten your back, making it more vertical and toe balance. Blocks, of course, can be used to help stabilize. All right, opening up the fascia of the feet, working the reflex points of the toes. And then we'll slowly straighten out the legs, land the heels again, but this time Uttanasana. So the legs are extended and long as you bow over, your belly's hugging in. And on your next in breath, you're going to step the feet back to plank. And when you come to plank position, Establish yourself here before setting the knees to the ground. Keeping the knees to the floor, untuck the toes, push back into extended child's pose. Keep your hands super glued to the mat. Elbows flying up. The head can even hover. It doesn't necessarily have to touch the floor. October is bringing awareness to breast cancer. So this is promoting breast health. Deep stretching and deep breathing. Opening and draining the lymph nodes and lymphatic tissues in the chest. Inhale, rock forward to hands and knees. We're going to slowly roll down to the belly. Down to the brow, to the third eye. Lift and lengthen each leg specifically. And then return the toes to the floor. Stack your hands up underneath your chest and shoulders, letting the shoulders look back away from your ears. And inhale, come to a baby cobra and float your hands. Just depend and trust in your back body that's toning and strengthening. Come back down to the brow, hands down in the same place. Loop the shoulders, get back away from your ears, keep your legs stretching back, your glutes strong, and see if you can come up to more of the medium version of Cobra. Arms are gonna kind of pull in towards your side ribs. Find a good angle for your head and neck. Breathe appropriately. And exhale, come back down to the brow. We're gonna do one more Cobra. So you can choose baby, the first version. You can move into that medium side we just did, or you can rise to King Cobra. Let's loop the shoulders back, engage the legs and buttocks, and inhale, come up to your style, your expression. Affirming, I rise joyfully to greet each and every new opportunity. Exhale, coming back down. Inhale, press up to all fours. Walk your hands so they're stacked underneath your shoulders. Tuck the tailbone, scoop the belly in, round the upper back, calf stretch. Hollowing out the belly and the chest. Puffing up through the shoulder blades. Inhale, flatten the spine. Exhale, curl your toes, push up and back to downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Fingers spread out, hips jut up, head bows low. On your next inhalation, slowly travel the feet forward to the top of the mat. Staying in Uttanasana, straight legs. Use your blocks if you need to for stability. We're coming back to that toe balance. We're lifting the heels up, we're bending the knees. Except instead of lifting the spine and separating the belly from the thighs, we're actually going to keep the belly kind of tucked into the legs. So we're going to move into kind of the more gentle variation of noose pose. It's called Pasasana, but negative connotation to it. It can also mean cord, tie, something that's binding, right? Something that's creating bondage. And that's what attachments do. So we're going to take the left elbow to the right knee, hands to prayer position, and we're going to try to twist. This is the most gentle variation of this pose that I know. Oh, what a beautiful expression of it. Thank you, Beth. I gotta remember that. You can also do it from chair pose if that is too much for your knees. All right, exhale, unwind. And we're gonna take it to the other side, right elbow to the left knee. Heart dialing towards the thumbs. And it's the stability is stemming from the feet. I meant to mention you can always roll a blanket and create a platform for your heels. Or roll up your mat. All right, exhale, unwind. Use your blocks for stability to come back down to the floor with your knees. And then we're gonna come up. Hands to firm position at the heart. Look at your toes on the back side. Make sure they're not pigeon-toeing towards each other. So stretch them towards the back side of your mat. Kind of root down through your shins and ankles. Lift the arm. Standing Vajrasana. And as you exhale, you're going to twist to the right. Separating the arms wide, shoulder height. Good. Inhale, turn to face the front. Lift the arms to right the face. Exhale, twist and turn to the left. All right, we're going to do that a couple more rounds. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist right. Good. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist left. One more to each. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale to center. Exhale, hands to heart. And when you're coming down, you can come to your seat, bring the legs out in front. We're going to go back to our spines for a moment for a supine twist. So when you tuck the knees into your upper body, separate your right arm away from you. And then take your left hand to the outer right knee. And then help to spin the legs over to the left side. Let your hand take residence here. And if you want to bury it down lower, you can apply just a little bit of pressure, but make sure your body's willing and accepting of that move. Breathe into the low back, breathe into your core, breathe up into the right shoulder. Three deep breaths. Inhale, draw the knees back up. Now separate your left arm to your side. Take the right hand to the outer left knee, and then help to spin the knees over and down. Affirming as you hold. New life, new energy floods through my being. Couple more breaths. And so we're going to be a little easier with eagle pose today. And the reason why I put you down on your back, so that we wouldn't have to worry about balancing on our feet today, since we were more yin and closer to the ground. So unwind from the pose first. Back your knees away from your chest. So the knees are kind of more or less over the hips. And then fly the feet up so the shins are parallel to the ground. All right, we're going to hook the right leg and cross it over the left. Whether or not your right foot wants to hook up underneath your left calf, you're welcome to do that or leave it out. Now we're going to thread the arms. The right arm is going to hook underneath the left. And then if you can intertwine the hands together, do that. Keep the hands away from your brow or hovering over your head. Gardasana Eagle. So someone just came into the last class. They had been out in California visiting their friends and family, and they said they specifically went to the area where all the ships, cargo ships were, just anchored, waiting to be unloaded. And it reminded me to mention that, we've been hearing there's going to be a shortage in the supplies. And we've already been seeing that in the grocery stores, or at least Rob and I have. Certain things that we're attached to that we get weekly, well, they're out. And so that's an adjustment that we have to work with right now. And that's about non-attachment. We may have to try a different brand or get something else entirely. Remind yourself of the affirmation at the center of life's storms. I choose to remain calm and serene. And that calm sense of serenity comes with detachment. All right, unwind all of that. Fly the legs up in the air and let your hands just rest on your belly. And then we'll reset for the second side. All right, let's bend the knees, keep the shins parallel. Let's hook the left leg over the right. Maybe the left foot underneath the right calf. And then winding the eagle arms. The right this time. The eyes can be open or closed. Center of life's storms, I choose to remain calm and serene. And let's release that binding of the arms and legs. Let's set the feet to the floor. Let's turn to one side of the body and we're going to come up. And if you happen to have something to sit on, I would suggest that. We're going to do a little moving, breathing meditation before Shavasana. So there's a piece during our teacher training where we do this meditation. Of course, we do it way longer than what we're going to do today. But you'll get a taste of it and you can put it into practice at home if you want to. Basically, it's cutting the cord. And this is even done, I'm trying to think where Stephanie learned this. I learned it from an energy worker. Stephanie learned it from, I think it was her therapist, her psychologist that she was working with. Doesn't matter where it came from. We're going to think about the cords of our attachments. They're energetic cords, right? Our heartstrings have attachments to all the people we love. And then we have strings of attachment from our ego center. We have strings of attachments towards our career and how we make money and what that looks like, and our other personal relations. We have attachments to our past. So anyway, just imagine where the cord is. And we're going to lace the hands together. And we're going to be audible at first, and then we're going to do it with breath work. So audible, it's like, huh, huh, huh. All right, so I know not everybody's shoulders can do that. So if that's the case, you can keep the shoulders down and just kind of karate chop your hands if that's better for you. But think about the energetic cords of attachment that we're trying to sever. And let's begin. Huh, huh, huh. Huh, 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 huh. 3, 2, 1. Rest a moment. And the breath work is like this. Okay, so we'll start doing that together. It's almost like a slow breath of fire. Three, two, one. Now relax the hands apart, open them up on your lap. And if you feel like cord is still there, you can always come back to this meditation and do it longer. You can meditate with it before and after. You can even imagine you're sawing through it, clipping it, cutting it with scissors. And it's not to cause you complete separation, but basically the separation of the attachment. The attachment that you have towards the outcome or towards the idea or towards the expectation or towards the reward. It can also do with their emotions or past. As you open up your eyes, you can take Shavasana. So any of the props that you gathered that you have around your mat, if you want to utilize, blankets, blocks, bolsters. Grab whatever you need. Set yourself up. This is the time we get to integrate some of the teachings and maybe do a little bit more reflective work on the attachments that we need to sever, separate from. This could also be the time where you even let the thing go and you have no thought process at all. And you're just coming into a state of being, a state of relaxation. Start any of those techniques by observing your breath. Allowing your breath work to drop you in. Clean and clear you out. And to promote a state of peace, freedom. Hearing mindful sound from home to your breath. And make it more lively. Bring a little movement to your hands and feet. And if you're flat on your back, feel at liberty to draw your knees towards you. To wrap your arms lovingly around. And just sway gently from side to side. Land to one. Slowly come up to take a seat. Bring in your hands to prayer position at your heart. We all understand the value of this lesson today. To lessen our attachments, to free ourselves up. To sever the cord of any attachments that are creating suffering. So that we can go to the root cause and extract it from our being. And we take the lessons learned on the mat into our daily life. The light within me honors and bows to the beautiful light in each of you. So before I shut it down, can't you see how attachments can also be with the ego, and how ego and attachments can also be with the veils of illusions and ignorance? So even though they're different categories, they really kind of bleed into each other. And it's just different ways of it's like looking at it from different angles and different viewpoints to understand, oh, that's it, you know. So thank you for paying attention and being here.